Good morning. Will the Committee on Infrastructure, Transportation, and Technology please come to order? I would like to welcome committee members Okimoto, Committee Vice Chair Okimoto, and Dos Santos-Tam, and also welcome, and also Councilmember Tupola. Committee Member Wire will be here shortly. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7, the Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda through two ways, remotely and in person in the council chambers. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when the agenda item is taken up, as both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and HRS Section 1-13. Members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. I will then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to offer testimony. Please utilize the raise hand feature on Zoom to be called upon. For those who are joining us by telephone only, if there will be any, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I will then identify that speaker by the last 3 digits of their phone number. When their phone number is called, I will ask them to please press *6 to unmute themselves when prompted. Some friendly reminders and tips: please video conference from a quiet location if possible. And if you're also watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you're called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I'll proceed to in-person testimony in the council chamber. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. For those council members participating from outside of the council chamber in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audiovisual contact with you and cannot reconvene until we reestablish contact. Therefore, please announce beforehand if you will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please silence all cell phones or turn off either one. Now, moving on to our first action item, we have agenda item number 1, which is communication D or Departmental 94 for 2026. It is from the Department of Design and Construction requesting the consideration of deed conveying roadway lots 20046 and 20047 for public use and EVA. We have with us from the City Administration the Chief of Land Survey and Acquisition for the Department of Design and Construction, Aaron Sakamoto.
Good morning, Chair Cordero, Vice Chair Okimoto, council members. Aaron Sakamoto with the Department of Design and Construction. We've submitted for your consideration some dedication documents for the conveyance of roadways in the ʻILIAHI at HO'OPILI subdivision. All of the improvements have been constructed to city standards, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. And may I ask who did the standard upgrades? Was it the developer that did that?
That is correct, yes, the developer, DR Horton.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for Mr. Sakamoto? Okay, thank you very much. We will now proceed with testimony. We don't have any registered remote testifiers or registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone online or in person who wishes to testify? And seeing none, we will now go back to discussion. Any discussion? We have Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I support the measures in HOʻOPILI. DR Horton's been good to work with. They've been very responsive. We've been working with them in this city on multiple fronts because they have such a large subdivision that they're building. So thank you very much to DDC and all those who are helping. Every time we complete our part of it, that means more residents are able to move in. We have a lot more to go. I think we're at 2,500 homes and they're approved for 11,000. So there's a lot more roads, there's a lot more dedications, but I'm glad to see things are moving along. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I guess this question would be maybe for the council member of the district. Do we happen to know how many phases this will occur in? Because you said 25,000 homes.
Yeah, so we are at 2,500 done. They're approved to do 11,000 homes. So I do believe that a lot of it depends on some of the dedication of roadways, infrastructure that's built, a few of the parcels that I think are part of some phases. So I guess to answer your question, I think so many other people are contingent in their timeline because 3 of the parcels are supposed to go to DOE. Only 1 of the 3 went, and DOE doesn't want to take the other 2 right now. So I think as people are starting to take acquisition, including us, so like on the city side, we have to take over the roads, then they can kind of like push that away and then move on to the next section. But as of right now, things are moving along. So I don't know how many more phases are left, but this will be a project that goes on for many years.
Understood. Thank you. And thank you for that explanation and clarification, Councilmember Tupola. Okay, next, the chair recommends that the document requesting approval and acceptance of the deed conveying roadway lots for public use in EVA, transmitted by Department of Communication 9426, will be reported out for council approval. Any discussion, objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered, and welcome to Member Wire. Next, we have item number 2 for action, Departmental Communication 100 for 2026, also from the Department of Design and Construction, requesting consideration of deed conveying roadway lots 2129, 2130, 2131, 2132, 2133, 134, 135 for public use in EVA. And once again, from the city's Department of Design and Construction, we have the Chief of Land, Survey and Acquisition, Aaron Sakamoto, with us. Please proceed.
Aaron Sakamoto, Department of Design and Construction. Yes, we've submitted this dedication document for the roadway lots in the ʻILIAHI at HOʻOPILI subdivision. We're asking for your consideration. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. And I just had a question on process. So when the dedication documents, do they go directly from the developer or DR Horton directly to you? Or is there a process that checks on the upgrades or city standards? Would it be DFM or another division in DDC?
Yeah, as far as the dedication documents, we work with the developer or their attorneys to handle the processing, but the responsible agencies are involved in the review of the improvements. DPP is the lead as far as for the dedication, but then in this case it's a roadway, so the Department of Facility Maintenance would be involved.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation. We will now proceed with remote testimony and remote and in-person testimony. We don't have any registered remote or in-person testifiers, but is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we will now close testimony and move back to discussion. Members, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, the chair recommends that the document of requesting approval and acceptance of the deed conveying roadway lots for public use in EVA, transmitted by Departmental Communications 100 2026, will be reported out for council approval. Any discussion? Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to agenda item number 3, we have Departmental Communication 101 2026 from the Department of Design and Construction, requesting consideration of deed conveying roadway lots 20142, 20143, 20144, 20145, and 20147. What happened to 20146? Okay, anyway, grant of drain easement 11353, grant of sewer easement 11353, grant of street light metering easements 11358, 11363, and 11369. And also the grant of traffic signal easements 11358, 11363, 11364, and 11369 for public use in EVA. And once again, from the City Department of Design and Construction, with the Chief of Land Survey and Acquisition, we have the Chief Aaron Sakamoto. Sorry.
Yes, Aaron Sakamoto, Department of Design and Construction. Yes, we've submitted dedication documents conveying roadway lots, and well, this is HOʻOPILI Phase 2 roadway lots. There's a drain easement, sewer easement, street lighting easement, and also traffic signal easement. So we're asking for your approval and acceptance of the easements. And I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, members. Any questions on this approval? No? Okay. And I was wondering, so you work with them, you already know when you're going to work with them for the easements, and then, or do they just complete it and then they submit the documents to you?
It's an ongoing process. Yes, it's initially, like I said, DPP is the lead agency, and then we are at the back end once all the improvements have been constructed and certified, and then we handle all the processing of the documents that, to preserve our rights. We want to make sure that we have the rights that we need for the future.
Understood. Thank you very much. Next, we'll have a testimony. We don't have any registered in-person or online testifiers for this item, but is there anyone in person or online who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we are now back in discussion. Members, do we have any discussion? Okay, seeing none. The chair recommends that the document requesting approval and acceptance of the grant conveying easements for public use in EVA transmitted by Departmental Communications 101-2026 be reported out for council approval. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 4, your resolution 26-47 requesting the Department of Transportation Services to consider installing shelters at bus stops along routes with service frequencies exceeding 30 minutes with priority given to bus stops located in unprotected areas. So I introduced this resolution. I know that we all have different areas in our districts that have less bus frequency. You know, when I'm going throughout my district and even taking certain routes like the 301, well, I can stand and I can wait for that period of time, but then there are others next to me who then have to end up sitting on the grass or on the ground. And if it's not shelters, I would like for us to consider looking at even some type of small seating, you know, the areas that do have less frequencies that I've experienced in my district are a lot of our kupuna and people, even kupuna who are taking care of keiki too. So I just really wanted to bring this up for discussion with the committee and the department as well. So that's my explanation for this resolution. But that's from the, oh, I forgot your title. We have the Director of Transit, John Nouchi. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Aloha, good morning, Chair and committee members. John Nouchi, Director of Transit. Indeed, you got that right, for the Department of Transportation Services. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for your leadership and your encouragement of this resolution. It is something that we are working towards, and perhaps it's something we don't talk about enough. DTS definitely supports the intent of this resolution. It emphasizes that necessity of us improving bus stops and increasing, I mean, beyond bus stops, just transit amenities across our island's robust transit network. And we recognize that bus stops really do serve as that really key, essential first point of contact for our riders. I remember there was a commercial back in the 80s about how you never have a second chance to make a first impression. And our bus stops really do represent that and deserve that attention. So we look at providing protective and respite infrastructure is really a key component of having a high quality and probably more important, a dignified transit experience. So again, thank you for this resolution. And I think it's very smart that part of the encouragement is related to headway or frequency or how often the bus comes. I think that's a consideration that we don't have in our calculus for when we decide where some of these supportive infrastructure go. And I think I wanted to talk a little bit, if I may, about how that calculation works, how we do the analysis. Just like everything in DTS, we always like to justify our actions so that we can show that we're responsibly spending our government's money and deploying them to the best places. In our ongoing efforts to modernize our system, we really do remain committed to the installation of that infrastructure. So that can include shelters, benches, stools, enhanced bus signs, and just other things that provide relief from the elements and a place for rest. So what's really good about the transit industry is we have strong colleagues and partners all over the nation. And while you might say a bus stop in Chicago and Minneapolis where they provide heating and shelters for people because it's a survival issue, we have stuff like rain and other things to deal with, and sun. And so our efforts are more focused on that. You can see some of our efforts reflected in our CIP, capital improvement budget. We have a regular line item for bus stops and ADA improvements at various locations. But some of the things that we do look at when we decide where we're going to embark on construction or installation, it's heavily influenced by our data that we gather on stop usage and ridership. So at each stop, we look at how many boardings and how many, and I don't like this term, but alightings. It means how many people get off at the stop. So that ridership is one of the key drivers as to where we install things. But we also look at what is the route type. You brought up the 301, which is a circulator route that services a neighborhood and connects them to main lines at Kalihi Transit Center and at the Kahawiki Middle Street Kalihi Transit Center station. We also look at the route type, how many transfer connections, how many routes serve that, and what the service span and density is. So, I mean, just as an example, if we have a route that only does like a few trips in the morning and a few trips in the afternoon, we would not look at it as a likely candidate because of ridership or other things. In addition to those data points, we have to look at ADA considerations for clearance, for space that we have on our sometimes narrow sidewalks or sometimes no sidewalks, and also slope and other considerations. So it's starting to sound like when we do traffic engineering studies for what we can do on our roadways, a very similar tack is looked at when we analyze where shelters and other things go. But that being said, probably our overriding look at it revolves around just good common sense of what that stop is meant to serve. But again, the frequency is something that we can look at. We also want to, for example, we want to distinguish between the stops that are primarily used as boardings and the stops that primarily serve alighting. So especially in more far-flung districts, like say in Mililani, for example, we have a route that comes into town, so therefore people might be waiting to board that to come into town. But when they go home, the stop across the street, they're just getting off and walking or going to where they're gonna go. So we would not invest in a shelter on one side of the street where we might in another. So I think that's pretty important. But we will continue to use the data-driven metrics and also consider frequency a little bit harder as part of that calculation. And that's our approach. So I can take any questions now you have about our infrastructure and our plans out there.
Thank you. So Director, I was just wondering about, so this bill that I was like really scared to do, but like now that we have the sponsorship program that will extend to beyond the Honolulu Zoo's pilot that we had, would that be able to allow for DTS to consider having a sponsorship program for bus, not shelters, but even just bus amenity? I don't know, what did you call it? You said amenities? Is that a possibility?
Very much a possibility. Again, the nuances and the details is where we really have to be careful. DTS we like to think that we're always bullish about looking at ways we can enhance maybe not revenues in this case, but participation in our infrastructure such that it would result in a better product, a better environment for our passengers. We do have existing agreements and other community aid that comes in, maybe for like refresh, rehab, repainting. Sometimes we do have some places in our system where we have a sponsor for the shelter. As you know, those are part of community benefits that often come in when a neighborhood is or a development is proposed or constructed as part of DPP's process with DTS collaboration. So there are multiple ways that we can get more infrastructure in, and we would embrace any assistance to that. But we will look into further the ability to take advantage of the council's recent granting of infrastructure improvements.
Okay, thank you. And one last question before I open up to the members, but what if, the 301 were to then combine with the routes that go to Moanalua Valley, for example, and then go on over to, instead of Kalihi Transit Center, Kahawiki, Middle Street, the center as well, but go to Ahua Lagoon so that it can combine and increase frequency. I'm not going to take credit for that. That came from my Moanalua Gardens Community Association meeting last night, so I'm not taking credit for that. But is that an ability to, I guess, look to more, not frequencies, more bus timetable stops than just like 2 in the morning or few in the morning and few in the afternoon?
That's a really good question, and it's one very close to my heart. A good transit system is what we run. What I think separates good from great is frequency of service, but frequency is always costly. So as you can see with our second Skyline opening, we've really tried to bump up the frequency of access along the Skyline corridor and in other places in the system, such that people have an ability to just go out to the stop and not have to look for a schedule, not have to figure out if they just missed the bus and have to wait another half an hour or worse, 60 minutes, or ultimately worse, if they've missed the last trip that they can take out of their neighborhood because it doesn't operate until the afternoon. So we will definitely look at ways that we can, places that we can restructure in our system, and that's an ongoing process. I have here with me Jay Gusa, who leads our service review and our service review subcommittee for bus. And we're often tasked with, making some kind of hard decisions. We used to have we still do in our system. We have some main lines that sometimes turn into little neighborhoods, and we have to weigh the cost and the benefit of what that costs us or what that costs each passenger in terms of time. And those are difficult decisions, but we are looking at bolstering our frequency along the whole system where we can.
Thank you. Okay, members, we have Committee Vice Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank you for this resolution. I'm really excited to see it. Director Nouchi, thank you. And I know that we've met over the years and just recently, and I want to thank you for the communication. This is a resolution important to me, as you mentioned, in my community. And I first of all, I want to thank you guys because about 8 years ago, before I even ran for this seat, a big concern from the community was how can we get more bus shelters, bus benches in the area that I represented then and continue to represent now. And so since then, there's been benches, there have been shelters. We talked about how you decide who qualifies for the bus shelter, who qualifies for just a bench versus the shelter and the bench. I'm wondering, and I know that space or location was part of the process, and you're thinking if there's not enough space to put an actual shelter over it, then you only put the bench. But if in the event where there is space, I'm looking at, I guess budget-wise, if there was a bench there already, but let's say you need a shelter later. Is that possible, or once the bench is put in, then it's not looked at again? Is that and what's the fiscal ramifications from that coming back after to put a shelter over benches?
Always possible.
Okay.
The bench does not mean we are done with the site. The bench means that perhaps that was what we could do at the time, given our budget or whatever other constraints we might have. But I think working with you and working with me, I think we always like to think about more of what we can do versus what we can't do. So maybe for now that works fine. if we have the opportunity to identify that as a good site candidate for construction, and unfortunately, putting up a shelter is construction, just like anything else in our city. And construction is difficult sometimes, and putting up a bus stop could cost us anywhere upwards of, 250,000 just for the construction, and even looking at things like site preparation, and even sometimes just driving a pole into the ground, we have to make sure we're not gonna strike any gas lines or electric lines or those kinds of things. So while we have I think we have 3 distinct types of bus shelters that we put up based on the site conditions. We do have to program a little bit in advance before the shelter comes in. But long answer to your short question, yes, we can enhance an already existing stool shelter stop with, with more things later.
Okay, thank you. And the bus stop pole is usually there. It exists usually.
Yes,
before the benches get there, or the shelters, correct?
I think in terms of practice, we generally try to put in our own poles. Rather, nowadays, we used to be able to put them up on, say, utility poles and other things. Just given that we don't have administrative control over some of those things, we would much rather drive in our own poles and have custody of those and inventory of those on our own.
Okay, and last one, with the benches and shelters that have been in place, what's their lifespan? How often do we have to, for wear and tear or vandalism or whatever it may be, change out these things? Or do they last pretty long?
They last pretty long. I don't have a specific answer for that. I mean, some definitely get used harder than others. I can think of one stop that is in Councilmember Cordero's district that it's a concrete cast stone bench, our old classic ones that say Aloha the bus on it. Mm-hmm. And over time, it has worn down such that you can see where people sit on it. So if something is undergoing that kind of wear, it's pretty durable. It's more like a testament of time and being outside all the time. But we also have some composite frame benches that we put out, and we have some metal benches that are pretty impervious to rust and other things. So we have different materials that we use, but we generally select things based on their durability and unfortunately not always comfort. Right. I'm trying to steer us away from using what I call barbecue grill style seating.
Okay.
Those aren't comfortable to sit on, and I just can't imagine the imprints that it leaves on people when they stand up.
Okay, fair point. Well, again, I look forward to continuing with the resolution, and I am thankful. I think my community is thankful for the resources that have in place, and hopefully we can continue to support that the best that we can as they're waiting for their bus rides, because we want to support the transit for our city.
Thank you for your support, though. We always do enjoy identifying those locations with you in your neighborhood and helping us identify those needs that maybe we're not as in touch with in your community as you are.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair. We have Councilmember Tupola, then followed by Councilmember de Santos-Tam.
Thank you. Aloha, Director of Transit. It's so nice to have you here. On the resolution, the whereas clause that said that we have 114 bus routes and 3,700 bus stops, by chance, are you aware, or do we know how many of the bus stops don't have shelters? I mean, just in general, do we have about a third that have shelters?
We have 29% of our
Ooh, I was close.
stops. Yeah, you were very close. And don't worry, I don't know this off the top of my head, even though maybe I should. I kind of anticipated somebody would ask. So by the numbers, we have a total of, and my tablet just shut off right now, which is perfect timing. But we have, as we indicated, roughly 3,700 or 3,800 shelters right now. And 1,095 shelters are available right now. And 990 just have seating. So that by the numbers, that would be 29% have shelters, 26% just have seating, and therefore 55% have some kind of amenity, either shelter or seating.
And then in regards to you guys, the steps forward, you said obviously the ones that are more frequently used. So I guess as a roundabout guesstimate, is there a goal that we're heading towards? Is the first goal to maybe get all the seating to have shelter? Is that like a good step one?
I think seating is always easier for us, but even seating sometimes presents a problem when we may be in an older neighborhood, maybe we don't have sidewalks, maybe we have sidewalks, but they are very narrow. So, for example, what happened in one of the valleys in town is we had a request for a bus stop, and it was a bus stop where people tend to board more than get off. So we found a location to put the bench, and it was maybe in a location that wasn't necessarily real close to the stop. And so I think everybody got a little bent out of shape that we had placed it on a sidewalk. There was enough ADA clearance. It was a flat place, but we just wanted to make sure that they're partnered up and they can be placed with good logic and convention to the station.
Yeah, I guess the question is because I thought, if we are going to go about doing this, obviously the ones that are utilized most, but then do we go with lowest hanging fruit, which is those who have seats, now we put a shelter over it, or do we immediately go towards those that no more seat, no more shelter, but most frequently used, as far as our goal, on the council of how we support you?
Yeah, no, and we do feel that support, and that shows in support of the budget that we have for this each year. I don't know that I would categorize it into either of those buckets as a focus, because there are low-hanging fruit on the shelter side, there's low-hanging fruit on the seat side. But you do bring up a good point. What we've watched in other places like Los Angeles County, they made a very public declaration that cross-county-wise, and we all know how vast LA County is, how they wanted to make better amenities for the whole county. But what happened was they ended up putting up a metal seat that's attached to the bus stop pole that had like a little shelter over it. And I think in intention, it was great. But the public did not react very well to it. And I think once they had a certain reaction to it, they had a hard time continuing the program.
Yeah.
Even though it was very well intentioned, cost effective, it just may not have been the vast sweeping statement that the public thought was dignified for their use.
Yeah, understood. Well, I think when you guys do determine how you're going to move forward with which shelters and bus stops and for what reasons, of course, that'd be good for us to know. Not to be real specific, but the bus stop by the boat harbor could use a refresh. It is hanging over. I have asked multiple times for that one. I don't know if sometimes the bus stops on Farrington belong to DOT. Is that correct?
Yeah, again, sometimes I feel like we get in our own way, but we do have to overlap with DOT on a lot of issues, especially when the bus stop is on their roadway. We generally have to ask for their permission and ask for the stop to be placed in the right-of-way, and sometimes just getting simple things like a trash receptacle. I know you've been copied on some things on Farrington Highway in Waianae to just get simply a trash receptacle put. But if we put one in, we wouldn't have enough ADA clearance on the DOT roadway. So, we're just trying to work it out. Where can we put it? And
so we are in charge of bus stops on Farrington, but we just ask permission.
Yes, we are tasked with the, construction and maintenance, but we need the easement and permission from DOT. And our relationship with DOT is absolutely rock solid under Ed Sniffen and Robin Shishiro's lead. So not usually hard, but if we cannot make the numbers work in terms of, say, 36 inches clearance and those kinds of things, then we have to be a little bit more creative about where we put things.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and I love that shout out for the specific bus stop in your district. I love it. So we have Councilmember to Santos-Tam.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Director of Rapid Transit in his new role. You just quoted us that 29% of bus stops around the island have shelters and 26% have some kind of seating. But in the 2025 Title VI report, it stated that 44%, somewhere between 40 and 44% have shelters, and somewhere between 65 and 69% overall have benches. Why the vast difference between what's in the Title VI report and what you just reported to us?
We've recently gone through the process of doing asset management and a tighter control on asset management. And I think what we were relying on for an earlier report was a consultant study that did an inventory system-wide of our assets and inventoried the stops for us. We did go through a lot of system changes, and we've had to actually, as part of system changes, abandon some of the stops that have shelters. And I know in Councilmember Tupola's district, we did have some issues with sometimes the bus needs to make a turn, or we changed the routing such that it can't service a particular stop on a certain intersection because of where it's positioned on the intersection. So I'm not saying that that accounts for that vast difference, but little things like that over time, we do try to decommission and reuse the stop asset in other places when our route changes necessitate abandonment of stops, so that they don't become a nuisance or an otherwise attractive nuisance to the community. But I can look a little bit deeper into the comparison of those numbers, and I would, at this moment, I'd venture to say that it's probably because of our different look at asset management of the things that we have out on the roadway.
Okay. Is there any concern that reporting a very vast number, about half the number that was reported previously, is going to cause us any Title VI or any federal reporting issues?
I think we would definitely look at that. If that was the data that we had at the time and that's what we certified, I think we can make some corrections and provide some justifications as to why the numbers are different now. And what was the point in time that you said? Was it 2020?
This was the 2025 report.
2025, okay, yeah.
Similarly, in that report, just apples to apples between the 2025 report and previous one, say 2019, which is what I pulled. Some of the stations say on the A, and I recognize the A in 2019 was longer than the A was in the early part of 2025, prior to A-line. It was reported that in 2019, 100% of them had benches, but in early 2025 or maybe late 2024, when they were doing this, it went down to 90% benches. What would the rationale be on a very high-frequency, high-service line to eliminate a bench or a shelter?
It's not that the bench or shelter was eliminated. In specific information pertaining to the A-line, what we did was we sectioned off some exclusive stops to the A-line. So along the way, we have stops that just serve the A-line and the other local service that operates.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess I'm just asking like apples to apples. So maybe the A-line's not a good example because we just recently made kind of a drastic change there. But like the E, which hasn't changed, went from 100% benches in the 2019 report to 89% benches in the 2025 report. And I don't think the E has changed that significantly.
The E had to undergo a pretty significant routing change along Kamakea Street. We also did implement 2 new stops on Kamakea Street to service right in front of the Whole Foods and in front of Anaha. So we had to miss a couple of stops that we used to serve, and we had to we started serving a couple new stops that we didn't. So that would probably be the difference for E.
So I guess all of this is sort of asking what is the process internally? Are there standards to identify bus stops for these improvements? And then also separately, I recognize we can't do this all at once. So is there a process to identify bus stops to simply get a concrete pad so we can have a shelter later on or benches later on?
So if you're talking about concrete pads related to the sidewalk infrastructure and the shelters, as I've noted earlier, it's a pretty heavy lift to put in a shelter because while it might seem we just put up 2 posts and a roof and a bench, we have to do site-specific design on every single one, and I really wish there was some way around it. Unfortunately, that's what results in, as Councilmember Okimoto brought up, that we have a bench there, and maybe we say a shelter is to follow because we want to give people something based on the request. So I think what I'd say is a lot of the things that we do install and make permanent are based on your constituents either reaching out to us or reaching out to you. And I like when they do both because it gives us both a heads up and we can both track that. And I wish our delivery could be faster in those terms. When it comes to a lot of new changes, like when we put in a completely new route, like for example, we're examining doing that on the Lagoon Drive segment. And a lot of that is recommissioning stops that we had maybe 15 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago. The good thing is the infrastructure on the road is there. Bus pads are there, so we don't tear up the roads with our stops and starts. We can look at maybe how in that area the sidewalks are generally fairly standard. And maybe that can be a more cookie cutter approach where we could look at it in a more programmatic sense and maybe do more than one at a time. But other than that, it's generally very site-specific for the location based on slope and ADA and even whether there's an accessible path to the bus stop. And it really is, we don't quite feel responsible putting in shelter infrastructure if it is not accessible to all. And we want to make sure that there is a path there. Sometimes that means working with our design and construction partners to put in a curb ramp to the crosswalk or other things that influence that accessibility.
I understand the federal government on occasion has grant funding for improvements to bus service, bus stops, all of that. Does DTS have sufficient staff to process federal grants, additional federal grants that come in? If we were to apply for $10 million for bus stop improvements, do we have the staff to process the grant, monitor compliance, actually bid it out, and do all of that? Or would the department need more support in order to unlock additional federal funding?
I think right now I'm very confident that we have the capacity to take on these FTA grants. We have become pretty much a good Swiss Army knife in terms of being able to maneuver the federal process. We have learned people in our division. We are in our division that manages grants, and both in the division that implements the design and the construction and the contracts. We are still looking for a overall grants manager for our Transportation Performance and Development Division, but we're looking at filling that as soon as we can.
Good. Last question. We recently raised the bus fares. Well, I didn't, but the stated rationale was that we had to, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to buy new buses, and we'd have to cut back on routes if we didn't do this. And so you, City Council, need to do this. And seemingly, everybody bought in. Well, 6 out of 9 of us bought in. And does any of that increased amount, borne entirely by our ridership, go to paying for any of these new shelters, benches, and trash receptacles in this upcoming budget? Is the budget for additional benches, shelters, and trash receptacles increased in a commensurate way to the 12% increase in bus fares?
I would say we want to be very careful about how we categorize the color of the money. We do have an operations budget, and we do have a CIP budget. Some of these things can be categorized into the operations budget because they are not a 30-year infrastructure piece that is bondable. Anything that does undergo design and construction, in this case, does apply to CIP. So the money is split kind of in different ways, and we like to deploy them to the best of our ability. For putting up a seat, we're not going to count that. We're not going to count that in our CIP. So I think fare increases pertain far more to our operations side in terms of service availability and service quality and the service frequency that we discussed at the beginning part of this discussion than it does to directly correlate with things like shelters and improvements at bus stops, including ADA accessibility and any construction-related bondable infrastructure that we do at bus stops.
I think that's a fair accounting explanation, but to the riders, they don't really care what the difference is between the operating budget and the capital budget, right? And so if somebody were to ask, you know, why, if we raised everybody's monthly fare by 12.5%, can we expect 12.5% more shelters, benches, and trash receptacles installed in FY27 than we had in FY26?
I'll address that question I'm going to say no. That expectation is not that if the fare goes up by 12% that we're going to have 12% more infrastructure, because like I said, that cost is bifurcated in many ways. It would be as if I said if we don't have a 12% increase in fares, we might encounter a 12% cut in service. And that's not a fair question or statement to threaten anybody with. So I don't necessarily want to agree or disagree in a binary fashion to whether that results in 12% more infrastructure, because that's just not how the money is programmed, and that's not how we divvy it up in terms of our allocations of capital and operating. I understand that, I agree with you that your average passenger or even your more educated and learned passengers might not get the difference of the color of money, but be that as it may, that's the boundaries that we have to accept and the terms that we have to use when we make these decisions on amenities at bus stops.
I appreciate that response. I think if we go back to the January full council meeting, I think the implication was actually made explicitly that if we don't raise bus fares, service will be cut. Is that not in fact the case? Is that, so you're saying now that is not the case?
No, I didn't say that. I just was questioning that it is really hard to say that a certain specified amount of revenue loss or revenue difference is wholly attributable to one characterization of one facet, one element of the overall service package that we provide. I just don't think that I could stand and say that 100% of that 12% will go directly to affect, improve, or degrade from one very specific aspect of the service delivery that we manage.
Okay, thank you. I think these last few questions have
Are they
been,
about the resolution?
Well,
Related
yes,
to the resolution?
they are, because
Thank you.
I think that when we talk about service for the passengers, it needs to be focused on what the passengers see, because there are so many other ways that we can pay for these services that aren't from the perspective of the passenger, but from the passenger, having a shelter matters. And that's why this line of questioning, I think, is germane. But what I do want to say is these questions were intended to hopefully send the message that if we are to entertain a bus fare increase again, we better turn over every single rock and every single stone and every other way to pay for it than by nickel and diming our customers.
Thank you, Councilmember Santos-Tam. We have Councilmember Byer.
Thank you, Chair. And really appreciate the work, because I definitely think, I totally support that and gotten feedback from the community to have additional shelters and benches and everything. And of course, I know we all love jumping on the bus. Just to finalize this discussion, so when, I mean, would we expect, if as we're rolling this out, when would we expect an additional bus fare increase?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not hearing the question. Can you repeat the question?
Like, when do we anticipate admin requesting an increase in bus fares again to cover costs for DTS?
I don't know at this time that I'm prepared to provide a statement on that. I mean, but I can address any questions directly related to this reso at hand.
Well, that's the question. So, I mean, as we're trying to increase services, I just wanted to make sure you're saying you're supportive and you're working towards increasing coverage. Are you saying you're trying to do that within the operating funds and the revenue that we're currently generating?
Yes. So we have ongoing programs that we're trying to improve the infrastructure above and beyond what we have now. Some of it would exist in our ongoing operating funds. Some would exist in capital improvements, depending, again, on the nature of whether it's construction, bondable amounts, or if it's more related to, putting up a trash receptacle, a seat.
Yeah, and sorry, and it stems from those questions, but I guess what I'm just trying to get at is I wanted a commitment from the department that sees this as connected to serving our working families and not wanting to, in the future, shift the burden or increase the burden on them to fund improvements. And so I just wasn't sure where your mind is on that, because I think it was brought up and is germane for that reason by Councilmember Santos-Tam. There was this framing put out there. We all love good framing, but there was framing put out there that the increase was because we needed to do that, not to cut routes, right? Whether it's you or someone else. But we know really it's about the revenue and where we get the revenue. And we know we just cut $50 million from the proposed budget. We know the budget reflects our values. And so as we work towards these, I just want to hone in on the resolution and note that this really is about the folks that are riding the bus, right? And ensuring that we're supporting particularly our working families. And so I hope this underpins those values going forward. When we're seeing the cutting of the community equity liaison positions, we're seeing the increase in the bus fares, when we're seeing attempts to change affordable housing programs to push out working families because we don't want lower income families as neighbors. I just hope that admin stays true to, I think, the intent of this reso, which is to provide services to the community and then look for revenue opportunities outside of that. So I just wanted to share that because it came up, and I do think it is relevant. I don't want to bypass it and undercut it because I think really our budget reflects our values. We're going into budget season. And so my hope is that we can all collectively, as we're entering really hard times, extremely hard times, government can't be pulling back. We need to be providing the services and meeting the needs of our community every day. So, mahalo, Chair.
Okay, thank you. If you feel the need to.
I think I would just restate that we are very supportive of the intent of this resolution just because it increases the dignity, it increases the comfort, it increases the attractiveness of the services we already provide as part of our ongoing program. And moving forward, I would agree. I heard the message from BFS Director Andy Kawano yesterday about we do have some difficult budget seasons ahead of us. And so we would like to say that we are looking forward to doing better with the resources that we have, making sure that everything we put in has the impact that we want. And again, it goes back to some of our analysis as to where is the money best spent, being fiscally conservative as led by some of the members of the council and encouraged by this committee and the council to make sure that we're not deploying monies in places that have minimal effect but have maximum effect. But it's not always those two. Like I said, common sense is the leader of a lot of these discussions. So if we could lasso in a good common sense decision with data that backs it up, that's our North Star here.
Thank you. Okay, I will complete discussion with, oh wait, did I do testimony? Did I do testimony? Oh, oops. Okay, we're gonna go to testifiers and then we'll go back to discussion. Okay, we don't have any registered or remote or in-person testifiers, but is there anyone in online or in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we are now back in discussion. Members, any discussion? I was writing down something to bring up since this is a resolution and it doesn't come back to my committee if I do pass it out, but I really want to thank the members for an awesome discussion. There's a lot of different components to this, but I do really want to highlight that I think all of the members have brought up that that our community has reached out to us for better bus amenities in our community, and looking at frequency, I thank my community for bringing that up and other concerns as well. I know that a lot of the drivers of these recommendations are currently driving and then like getting stuck in the middle street merge traffic, but they said that if they could just only have a little more frequency that matches their timing. I know it's selfish, but a lot of the time it's what would drive them to then hop on a bus and not be just a single driver vehicle on the way to town. And that gives me hope because it shows me that with Skyline connections as well as different bus route connections, that people are thinking about how they can make utilizing the bus and Skyline as part of their route. And hey, they'll be off the road, so that's better for us. So anyway, that's not what I wrote here. Sorry. I also do want to encourage the city departments to continue to look at the sponsorship program. I know that Department of Enterprise Services has a solid program with the Honolulu Zoo as well as their other properties that we can look at. And if there's any way that we can look at amending that package better in ordinance, let me know. After that pass, it's a weight off my shoulder, so hopefully we can make it even better if necessary. I know that budget is a topic of the issue, and also what drives a lot of our services and what we can offer. But with this sponsorship a package available to us as a city, I'm hoping that we can try to go big and see where we land with partners in our communities, both private and other types. So. Wanted to bring that up as my last discussion item, so thank you. Any other discussion. And thank you all members. I really appreciated everything that you all said. And thank you for letting me read off and also go off script on what I was saying here. So, and thank you to our Director of Transit for allowing us to have this great discussion. So with that, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-47 be reported out for discussion. Adoption. Any discussion? Objections? Reservations? Hearing none? So ordered. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5, we have Bill 73, 2025, which is amending the certain provisions relating to traffic and vehicles. Members, there is a posted proposed CD1 on the agenda, version of the bill for CD1. I don't know, I can't read that. Identified as OCS 2026-0117/2/25/2026 at 4:41 p.m. submitted by Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam. For your information, a summary of the amendments are listed on the agenda. I will now defer to the introducer of the bill, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam, to explain his CD1 if you want to. I know that's on the agenda though.
Thank you. The underlying purpose of Bill 73 is to update outdated and obsolete provisions of our traffic code. As you may have heard from me on multiple occasions, the traffic code started in 1931, and there's provisions in there that are 95 years old. And you can tell which ones those are. They say things like heretofore and, you know, all of those sort of phrases that we don't use anymore. But the purpose of updating this is to make sure that our city's traffic code reflects current conditions and that we have a traffic code that works, it's enforceable and makes sense. When we were drafting this bill, it was the recommendation of OCS, our drafting agency, to separate out Bill 73 and 75 so we can work on 2 related provisions via 2 separate vehicles. I'll note that Bill 75, even though it was introduced in October of last year, has not received a referral yet. The purpose of this, again, is to have a city that works, and I hope that we have a council that works and when bills get introduced, they get referred in a timely way. We don't have that now, so the CD1 of this version is to reinsert those provisions back into a larger, more complicated omnibus bill because that other bill didn't get referred, and so now we have to deal with all of these updates via one potentially very long bill. This is a long process though because it's complicated and there will be sort of other drafts that identify things that further need updating and reorganization.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam. Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam, as it relates to your CD1, I wouldn't feel comfortable passing out the bill if we amend it to the CD1. But if we were to amend it to the CD1, I would recommend keeping it in the committee so that we can further look at the drafts. So those are 2 options, but yeah, yes.
That would be my preference too, because there are a number of other things that we'd like to insert in this early phase. So that way when we get to second reading in the second committee, we'll have sort of a more refined version.
Understood. I really appreciate that, and thank you for understanding my hesitation to pass the bill out as a whole for public hearing. We have from the city administration, okay. We have Renee Espial, and if you could please state your title because I'm forgetting everyone's title right now.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Renee Espial, Complete Streets Administrator, representing Department of Transportation Services this morning.
Thank you. And I know that you heard just our discussion right now. And so did you have any comments from the department?
I believe the CD1 provisions that were originally in Bill 75 relate more to Department of Customer Services. So we don't really have an opinion on those. I'll defer to customer services for those particular issues. But we, of course, are here to answer questions, provide clarity on any of the DTS-related provisions in Bill 73.
Okay, thank you. I do, so thank you. Are there any questions for DTS? Okay. If not, then maybe I would like to call up BWS. BWS, and then I'll call up the CSD next.
Good morning, Chair Cordero and members of the committee. My name is Kathy Mitchell on behalf of Manager and Chief Engineer Ernie Yao. The Board of Water Supply submitted written testimony on Bill 73, the proposed committee draft 1. Respectfully, the Board of Water Supply objects to Section 13 of Bill 73, the proposed committee draft 1, that repeals Section 15-16.7 of the revised ordinance of Honolulu. If the proposed CD does not pass out, it's also the provisions of Section 13 in the CD1 is also in the original Bill 73, Section 12. So we object to Section 13 of Bill 73, CD1, and BWS recommends replacing the language in Section 13 with the suggested language that we submitted, along with a revised exhibit of Section 15-16.7. There's a map. So we provided suggested language in replace of that CD1. Available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, do we have any questions for BWS? No? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. If you could have Director Hashiro from CSD.
Good morning, Chair Cordero, Vice Chair Okimoto, and members. Kim Hashiro, Director for the Department of Customer Services. I do very much appreciate the discussion earlier about needing additional time to review the provisions in Bill 73. Just overall, we understand and acknowledge and agree with the need to provide better clarity, streamline, update provisions in the ordinance. So that's not a concern for us. We view what is being proposed so far as an ability to update our system, and that will take time and that will take resources. So we'd like to mention that. But overall, we're hoping that the end result is going to result in a more efficient, compliant process. Also, to repealing outdated provisions, I just wanted to make a comment that our city towing contract, and it is currently posted for solicitation right now, that will continue to provide necessary services in certain areas. So even if the provisions in the ordinance are removed.
Okay, so sorry for clarification. As while certain parts of that section will be repealed, the contract will continue. Is that what you said?
Yes, and services will not be impacted.
Oh, thank you for that clarification, Director. Okay, members, any questions, comments? No. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for those comments. Okay, we'll head to testimony. We don't have any, oh wait, we do. BWS already testified, and we also have registered to testify Angela Melody Young. I don't know if it was online or in person, but I don't see the testifier online. But is there anyone in person or online who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, we are now back in discussion. Members? No? Okay, all right. So we had the two options, and well, I would allow, if it's easier for the bill to be amended, continue to be amended, and then kept in committee. So the chair recommends that Bill 73-2025 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2026-0117/2/25/26 at 4:41 p.m. and be further amended. 4:41 p.m. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Okay, the bill has been amended to CD1. And so the chair then recommends that action on Bill 73, 2025 be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the chair. Any discussion? Any objections? Any? Oh, CD1. Oh, sorry. The chair then recommends that Bill 73, 2025 CD1, I think I did, be reported out for passage on, not passage, for CD1 be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the chair. Any discussion, objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, moving forward, agenda item number 6. So we have an informational briefing about the Department of Information Technology on H&L 311 application. We know that is an updated application from the other 311 that has been provided. I know at the Pearl City Neighborhood Board that Councilmember Okimoto was at, they did a demo, so I got jealous, and so I totally wanted to copy, basically. I want to thank. Okay, so I see the Director of Information Technology. Oh no, you're not going on. Okay, well, I'll let you, how about you introduce your team? How about that, Director? He's like, no. But yeah, okay, we have Director Brian McKee with us. Oh, wait, press the button. Press the button on, off.
How about that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman, members of the committee. Yeah, we have a demo set up for you. I'm basically going to get out of the way and introduce you to the brains of the operation. So we have Nancy Bowe, who is the head of my applications department. As you know, the 311 system was rolled out just recently. We had some really good numbers come in. It's been ramping up in popularity during this last recent storm that we had. A lot of people used it to report downed trees and other problems, and they got off the 911 calls and onto the 311, so it was a real help. So I'll let her give you guys a demo here. Nancy?
Okay, good morning, committee chair and members of the committee. Nancy Bowe, Application Division Chief at the Information Technology Department. Before I start going into the demo, I want to give you a little overview on H&L 311. Okay, so H&L 311 was built as a non-emergency request platform. This platform allows our residents to submit requests and concerns to the city. Okay. So it all started in 2012 when the city purchased a vendor solution, which was dubbed Honolulu 311. From 2012 to 2022, guess what? We gained popularity. There were requests coming in from our residents who are very adamant in getting their community to a better place. With that being said, this calls for an additional module, which was activated with our vendor, which then we got OneView. Now, this solution was supposed to help departments in better prioritize their requests and work on these requests. However, with that, there were shortcomings with the solution. Our users, our department users, found it difficult to use. In addition to that, the per user license was increasing year after year. And that's when in 2024, DIT stepped in and took on the challenge to build what we call now H&L 311. Our baby was born in December of 2025, and our new app is now available through hnl311.com. It is also available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It's a very simple to use application where our residents would log in, or they can actually submit anonymously through our portal, through a very simple user interface, requiring them only 3 fields to fill out. They will submit this request. The system has an intelligence to know where to route this request. Requests will then be routed to the appropriate department. So there's no middleman telling, where this request should be going. It has intelligence to disseminate that request. Departments will then get a notification, hey, there's a request. And that's where they will start the work, review the request, and find a resolution for that service request. Okay. Besides cost saving and a simplified user interface, we also made it service oriented. Okay, I've been with the city for quite a bit. Even now, sometimes, I get confused, what department does what. Okay, so we took out that guesswork for our residents. So as you can see on our screen, there's a screenshot there. The request type is simple, friendly verbiage that a resident would understand. In addition to that, we unified our request platform. We work with the various departments to promote HNL 311 as a source to let residents, that's where you would go to submit your request. This saved a lot of clerical work in transposing phone calls and emails into work order systems. And we're not done yet. There's 2 additional updates we also did in the system. We increased transparency. This transparency, what it means is whenever a city employee touches the request, an update will be sent to the resident who submitted the request via email. Or the public can take a look into our HNL 311 portal and follow up and see what's going on with that particular request. And last but not least, we enable location awareness. Now you would be able to see on a map where these requests are coming from and what type of requests are coming. So with the mentioned changes, in the past 3 months, we received about 8,400 requests through our system. Okay, I found that it's very well received with this number, over 3 months of period. Like Director McKee have mentioned, a lot of these requests came a couple weeks ago when we had, our flash flood warning and the storm system that was in our area. But our job is not done. There's a couple of things that are on our to-do list, and I would want to share that with you. And that includes integrating AI capabilities to enhance efficiency and service delivery. Expand our dashboard and reporting to improve visibility and decision-making in the department level as well as in the administration. And we're working toward connecting with additional departmental work order system to streamline operations in the department level. And finally, we want to deliver more training now that we don't have to pay a fee for these training. We want to deliver more training for our internal user and promote public awareness on this system. Okay, and that's it for my slide presentation. We're going to go into a live demo. So we are going to head on to HNL 311 utilizing our browser. Once you get into HNL 311, you'll be presented these options. So in today's demo, I'm just going to submit a request. So I'm going to click on the very first card you see here, service request. Okay. Then you'll have to decide, did you want to submit as yourself or you want to create anonymously? We have that option. But for today's demo, I'm going to create as myself or maybe as my driver here. Simply because I want the city to get back to me. I want to get notified. As well as, in turn, if city departments has questions, they can contact me easily because all that information is in my profile. Okay, I will log in here. So once I'm logged in, today I'm going to submit a pothole request because on my way to work, I saw this pothole on University Avenue. So I'm going to submit this request. I'm going to use this demo to submit my request. So I'm going to type in pothole. And at this pothole, strangely, it happened on University Avenue fronting the Varsity building. It was between the bike lane and the far right lane heading to town. So I'm gonna type that information. As you can see, it's very simple to use. And because I am logged in on a workstation, it's actually prompting me. You see on your upper left-hand corner, do I wanna enable location? So that's where the location awareness comes in. So the system knows that your location is not enabled. It's asking you, do you want to enable it? For the purpose of this demo, I'm not going to enable it. Okay, then it's asking me for an attachment. So picture worth 1,000 words. So, however, I did not pulled over and take a picture of that pothole. So I'm going to skip that for now. But there's an option to put an attachment here. Okay, and finally, location. Now, I don't know the address of fronting the Varsity building. So I'm gonna type in Varsity building. It will pull up that location address and put a blue dot there. And you can see we have residents who already submitted some requests around that area. And can we click on that gray dot? It seems like someone already beat me to it. It was submitted yesterday. So someone did submit the same request. So, for the sake of this demo, I'm just gonna go ahead and submit this request. So our DFM folks can work on it. Okay, click on submit, and that's it. That's it, we're done. And you can see, when I look at the public view, my pothole request is there. And you see that green bar above each request, it means it's been sent to the department. The department now got an email telling them, hey, there's a new request that came in. Okay, that's it from me.
Thank you. Sorry, I was reading about the dead cat on Lumi Aina. Oh my gosh, sorry. Thank you, Chief Bo. I appreciate the presentation. Before I open up to the members, I was wondering, I just have two questions. Do you track via data the timeliness of receipt of the requests and response of the department to the requester?
Yes, we do. So every request, we track the different stages from being received all the way to a resolution. And we also track the comments in the resolution.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Do you think you recommend us city employees utilizing 311 app versus our riser requests?
Very good question, because we have an internal system, which is City La Lima, which is going to be, which currently the city staff is using to track all our 311 requests. So there's a possibility to enroll on not only Riser, but also City Dart.
Okay, so when requests like this come in, does it go through the same system as the Riser system or the Dart system?
Previously, when a request came in, it will go through a DART system.
I see. Okay, I was just wondering because, for our requests, like it seems like my neighbors, like in Makalapa, may get a response quicker through 311, or the neighborhood board chair will get a response quicker, and we wouldn't hear back. Like DTS, who was just here, are famous for not getting back to us. We have like hundreds risers that are still open from 2022 even. And when I joined the council, we had it from when I was working for my predecessor. So I mean, I'm just using DTS because they were right here, but also there's other departments that are just longstanding cases, and we're just like, what can we do with this information? We can't get back to our neighbors, and if I wouldn't also want to start bombarding this 311 system when we already have like these requests from our neighbors. But if anything, I might just start turning people away, or not. I'll just start to pretend to be them, have my staff start to pretend to be the constituents and utilize the 311 app, So I don't know. Anyway, it was not less of a question. It was just kind of me complaining. Thank you. Okay, any questions? members. Okay, we have Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, I think just to go on that thread, I do think it would be advantageous if we just use one, because I will say 311 is faster than the riser system. It seems to be that departments respond very quickly, which is great for our constituents. And then it would take a lot off of us who are internally trying to do emails and follow up on risers, when really the benefit of the 311 is they can see the progress themselves, and then we minus ourselves out of the equation. Now we don't do any follow-up emails. Is it something that your department can discuss at cabinet meeting and determine if we should just do one system? Because we can even teach our constituents how to use 311.
Yes. Yes, that's the direction that we would want to go to. A single portal for all city requests and making it as transparency as possible so we don't have to transpose information from one system to another system. Yes.
Okay, well, I would prefer that. And if it's 311, then so be it. I feel like it's more advanced than what we're doing with the riser system, and people seem to be more pleased with the outcome of that. So thank you very much for your hard work. Everyone appreciates it.
Thank you. Okay, we have Committee Vice Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. This is exciting. We're really grateful for all the efforts that the department has been putting into modernizing our system here and trying to make life easier for all of us. I have questions along the same lines, because right now the system that my office and I will use is somebody will text me or email my office, and when people text me, I usually say, just to have it documented, email it to me so that we have a track of document where the process starts and where it goes. And I think Councilmember Tupola sort of addressed my initial question, was which one's quicker, which one's more efficient to get the right answers. It sounds like 311, which I haven't personally used yet, but if it is quicker, we'll use that route. I was just wondering, how do we as council members follow up? Like, is that information seen to all of us, or just internally? If a constituent then uses the system and it gets put in and you guys can see where it goes after they submit it, are we able to see that as well?
Yeah, so HNL 311, what was presented today, is a public interface. We do have an internal interface where departments would see all the requests that comes in, which is City La Lima. We are more than happy to show you that system, and I believe you folks can make use of it, but we track our constituents in there. So there's a piece where we track our customers.
So in this case, it would be more beneficial or efficient to do this route and then follow up with the City of La Lima versus the current riser system that I know my office and I still use it today. And I did meet with the director. Thank you for meeting with us. I appreciate that. In your efforts to modernize, is that what the department is suggesting?
Yes. Our, the riser systems been in place for quite a long 10 plus years. So it's time to move toward a very modernized system where, you know, we streamline our operations.
Okay. And then in the event where we then start using 311 more, at some point it will get more traffic and things get backed up. Committee chair mentioned that there's a backlog from a specific department. How do we then take that information? Do we just take it and say, hey, we see this department, you're not following up on a specific thing in my district? Is that the best? Is that what the administration is thinking the best route is, to go from there? How is this source going to be helpful for us, I guess, from our capacity?
Yeah, every department has a different workflow and different type of requests. So that's what we see already in the past 3 months when the HNL 311 took place. Some requests, such as, you know, installing crosswalk, we understand DTS cannot finish it within 14 days. So they do get back to the constituents in terms of, hey, you know, it may take maybe 6 months to do a traffic study before we truly paint this particular crosswalk. So things like that. So there is a way that you folks would be able to see where these requests are, how long they're taking, and you folks may be able to contact the departments directly for those requests. Okay, that's
exciting. Just to follow up, you mentioned that if for the traffic study, which we know takes longer than the average person might realize, you're saying the system will let them know that, or we're supposed to let them know that? If you could repeat that part.
Yeah, so the department who holds the request will
let them know.
Yeah,
okay.
will let the requester know.
Okay, essentially, which is what Committee Member Topola was saying, to eliminate so many touches to the same issue. Is that correct? And in the example where you saw that somebody had put in the request for the same pothole, is it more beneficial to just also have whoever wants to go and state the same issue to have multiple tags on it, or does that help? Does that bog down the system?
Yeah, the purpose of that location map when you submit a request is to let you know, hey, attention is already given to that request. However, we're more than welcome. That's why we don't put a stopper there. We're more than welcome. If you want to submit additional information, we'll love it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair. I was actually looking at all the requests and looking at the comments and looking at that. And I do have a question relating to, one of them says that it was not accepted. It may need to go to another division. In those moments, does the AI then bring it back to something that needs to be received again? Or do you recommend that the requester submit it again and be specific and say, this is a second request, we received this response from whichever department, please refer it to another division?
In the administration of HNL 311, which is called Sila Lima, departments can forward it to the appropriate department. So say, for example, a request that came in, which was accidentally sent based on what is being written and the request type selected to the wrong department, say DTS, when it's supposedly be a DFM project or a request to service, DTS will then have the ability to forward it to DFM. So there's the internal forwarding. And all this forwarding is being tracked in our system.
Thank you. Yeah, I did see a few others that were forwarded to another department, but the one specifically that was not accepted did not have that distinction that it was forwarded. It was just not accepted. It may belong to another division, and then that's it. So
yeah, we do have requests that come in. Roads is a very, very big one where our constituent doesn't really know if that particular street or road belongs to the state or the city. And that's something that we are looking toward, providing that intelligence. When you put that dot on the map, we can let you know, if we get the data from the state, we can let you know if that particular street or road belongs to the state or the city. Then they will be routed to the right place.
Okay, thank you. So, so if I were to tell my community, or if I had it like in a newsletter, and if I were to prompt them, if the status update says it was not forwarded, maybe make another request for it to go elsewhere, because I do see differences in the types of responses from different departments, and it just doesn't give me confidence that all of them are forwarded. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your patience in that, because this is new to the departments as well. Right now, we have plenty hands in the system because, like I said, we're not paying a fee for this license. So we are doing training. So we have training lined up this year to put that awareness out there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Okay, we'll head to testimony and go back to discussion. We don't have any registered in-person or online testifiers, but is there anyone in person or online who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, we will then go back to discussion. Members, any discussion or further questions for Nancy Vo, Chief of Applications? Is it Applications? Yes. Okay, all right. Seeing none, Nancy, did you have any, Ms. Vo, do you have any questions, or not questions, I'm sorry, any last comments about HNL 311 that you wanted to make before we complete this presentation and committee?
No, I just want to thank you folks an opportunity to let me share this exciting new product with you folks.
Thank you very much, and we'll definitely be sharing this. I know we'll be sharing it on my social media as well. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time. Okay, with that, members, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 10:31.